Imagine standing in a supermarket in 2024. Thousands of products on every shelf, air conditioning, fluorescent lights, a phone in your pocket connected to every piece of human knowledge ever recorded. You grab a coffee, a bag of chips, maybe something sweet. Your body immediately rewards you for that choice with a small flood of pleasure chemicals. That reward system in your brain was not built for this moment. It was built for a world that no longer exists. A world where sugar was rare, fat was precious, and finding either one meant you might survive another week. We are walking around in ancient bodies in a world our bodies were never designed for. And that raises a question nobody asks out loud. If evolution built us for that old world, why has it not rebuilt us for this one? Why did we stop evolving? For most of our existence on this planet, we were not the only humans. If you walked across the earth 50,000 years ago, you would have found other people, not quite like us. Some shorter and stronger, some with heavier bones and wider chests built for cold, some so small and strange that when scientists found their bones, they could barely believe what they were looking at. We shared this planet with at least 4 other human species, and one by one, they all disappeared. We were the last ones standing. And the reason we survived while the others vanished is the same reason the question of whether we are still evolving is so complicated. Because what made us different was not just our bodies. It was something harder to see in bones and fossils. It was the way we connected to each other. But we will come back to that. First, we need to understand what evolution actually is, because most of us have a version of it in our heads that is slightly wrong. We imagine evolution as a ladder, primitive creature at the bottom, modern human at the top, each step an improvement on the last, progress moving in one direction towards something better. That is not what evolution is. Evolution is not a ladder. It is a response. It is what happens when an environment puts pressure on a population, and some individuals survive that pressure better than others and pass whatever helped them survive on to their children. That is the entire mechanism. Variation between individuals, some variations helping more than others, those helpful variations spreading through the population over generations. It does not move toward better. It moves toward whatever works right now in this specific environment. And the moment the environment changes, what worked before might stop working completely. Which means the question of whether we stopped evolving is really a question about pressure. What pressures are still acting on us? What is still killing some of us before we reproduce? What is still making some of us have more children than others because of something in our genes? And the answer is more than most people expect. 6,000 years ago, almost no adult human on Earth could digest milk. The enzyme that breaks down lactose switched off in every human after childhood. That was normal. That was universal across our entire species. Then we domesticated cattle. Suddenly, there was an enormous food source available to anyone whose body could process it. A mutation appeared that kept that enzyme switched on into adulthood. The people who had it had access to more calories. They survived famines better. They had more children. That mutation spread across entire populations in a few thousand years. Today, a significant portion of humanity drinks milk as adults without any problem. That is not ancient evolution. That is evolution happening inside recorded human history. We did not stop. But here is where the story gets uncomfortable. For most of our existence, we lived in small, isolated groups. Small bands of people moving across landscapes, hunting and gathering. Those small groups meant a small gene pool. A small gene pool means evolution has less variation to work with. Less variation means slower change. The same pressures acting on the same limited set of genes over and over. Then something changed. We built cities. We developed agriculture. Our population exploded from a few million people to 8 billion. 8 billion people means an almost incomprehensible amount of genetic variation. Every new person born carries new mutations. More people means more mutations. More mutations means more raw material for selection to work with. Some evolutionary biologists now argue that we are not just still evolving. We may be evolving approximately 100 times faster than our long-term historical average. Not stopped, accelerating. The Dutch are the tallest people in the world on average. They were not always. Studies show that in the Netherlands, taller men have slightly more children than shorter men because of mate preferences. That preference is slowly pulling the average height of the entire population upward. That is natural selection happening right now in a modern country with excellent healthcare and abundant food. The Framingham Heart Study tracked thousands of people in Massachusetts for decades and found measurable shifts. People getting slightly shorter and slightly heavier. Women with lower cholesterol having slightly more children. Blood pressure shifting across generations. These are not dramatic changes, but they are real, they are measurable, and they are happening inside modern medicine. So why does it feel like we stopped? Because we are standing inside it. Evolution is a process that takes hundreds and thousands of generations to become visible. We live for one generation. We cannot feel it moving the way we cannot feel the earth rotating, but it is moving. It has never stopped moving. What has changed is the direction. For most of our history, the biggest killers were predators, starvation, exposure, and infection. The people whose bodies handled those threats better survived and had more children. Their genes spread. Over hundreds of thousands of years, that pressure shaped everything about us. Our immune systems, our metabolism, our pain responses, our fear responses, our craving for calories. But now, we have removed most of those pressures. We do not die from predators. We rarely starve. We have medicine for infections. So evolution is no longer pulling us in those directions with the same force. Instead, it is pulling us in new directions we did not choose and cannot fully see yet. And this is the part that should genuinely unsettle us. Our bodies were shaped by a world that no longer exists. The craving for sugar and fat that drives us toward junk food exists because in ancient environments, sugar and fat were rare, and the people who craved them ate more of them and survived better. That craving was an advantage. It kept our ancestors alive. Today, it is killing us. Our stress response floods our body with hormones designed to help us run from a predator. Our heart rate spikes, our muscles tense. Our digestion stops because the body is diverting every resource to surviving the next 30 seconds. That response saved our ancestors' lives hundreds of thousands of times. Today, we trigger it in traffic jams, in emails, in social media notifications. Our fear of being excluded from a group was shaped at a time when exclusion from a group meant death. Alone on the savanna, you did not survive. The people who feared rejection so intensely that they did everything possible to stay connected to their group lived longer and had more children. That fear spread through the entire species. Today, that same ancient fear of rejection is running in our heads every time we check how many people liked our post. We are not broken. We are ancient, running programs that were written for a completely different world in a body that has not had enough time to catch up. And here is the deepest part of this story. We are the only species that has started directing its own evolution. We created medicine that keeps people alive who would not have survived before. We created agriculture that changed what our bodies needed to process. We created cities that changed what diseases we are exposed to. We created light that tricks our brains into staying awake at hours our ancestors would have been sleeping. Every one of these things is changing the selection pressures acting on our species. Every one of them is pointing evolution in a new direction. We are not passengers in our own evolution anymore. We are accidentally steering it without a map, without knowing where we are going, without being able to see the changes happening because they move too slowly for any one life to witness. The question was never whether we stopped evolving. The question is what we are evolving into. And the honest answer is that nobody knows. Not yet. Evolution is still writing that chapter. We are living inside it right now. Every generation slightly different from the last in ways too small to see, but too real to deny. We did not stop. We never stopped. We just forgot we were moving.